At 6, we find our first quarterback going off the board in Liberty's Malik Willis to the Panthers. I will say the Panthers GM came out either today or yesterday and said, look, we're not ruling out Cam Newton for another year, but the quarterback, well, Danny Cannell, it is dry right now. What do you think about Malik Willis to the Panthers at 6?
So I have been, you know this, Amanda, we've talked a lot. We've done a lot of these mock drafts. I've been a Kenny Pickett guy, but I am actually a Malik Willis guy. I'm moving him to the top of my board. In large part, here's why. I don't love this quarterback class. It's been pretty well documented. I don't think there's any guy that really lights it up. There's no surefire number 1 overall pick. But if you're going to invest this type of draft capital and financial commitment to a quarterback, I want to see big return. And I think with Kenny Pickett, I think it's a safe play, but I think the upside is limited with what you could get over the long haul. With Malik Willis, if you hit on him, if you surround him with the right talent, if you put him in the right system, if you get the type of development that you hope to get from him, I think you could hit a home run with him. So I think there's also a risk, though. You could see a player that could struggle to transition from playing at Liberty into the NFL. And I've told you guys this a couple times. I think he's sort of a hybrid between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. The only problem is he's not the best of either one. He's like a little bit less than Josh Allen with the arm strength, and he's a little bit less than Lamar Jackson with the running capability, but he is sort of a hybrid of those two athletes. But I do think if you put him in the right system, build around him, let him utilize his legs, he could be a home run. But I am concerned about Carolina, where he's going with all the uncertainty, new offensive coordinator, coaching staff on the hot seat. I don't love the fit for him in Carolina.
Yeah, I think that's the problem here. And now they could very well go this route where they draft a rookie quarterback in the top 10. Sometimes the philosophy or the logic to it is, hey, if you're a head coach on the hot seat, draft a rookie, you play him, you see how things go, and maybe it buys you another year. The hard part is there's too many examples of times when coaches have done that, and they end up getting fired when it was all said and done. Jeff Fisher with Jared Goff in his first year ended up getting fired at the end of it. You go back to John Fox and Mitchell Trubisky in Chicago, there's plenty of examples. That's just a couple. So the reality is, if you're looking at this decision, it makes some sense because, well, they went with Teddy Bridgewater, a veteran before in year 1. That didn't work. They went with Sam Darnold last year. Kind of a veteran of sorts, still on his rookie deal, but that didn't work. Now they maybe go back into the draft, but does Matt Rule really have time to make it work? I don't know. And so for all the reasons that DK just talked about, Ryan, it's concerning for me because I do think he's going to have to play right away. Now, if Christian McCaffrey's still there, that takes some pressure off your shoulders. They do have a defense that's improved, that I think can hold down scoring so he doesn't have to be Superman out there like Cam Newton once was for Carolina. So I can see it making some sense. It's just a tough spot for a rookie quarterback to be in.
Here's what I love most about this conversation. Danny and Brady know quarterbacks better than anyone, and Danny's already talked himself out of Kenny Pickett and into Malik Willis. This is what NFL teams are doing because they have so much time to think about it. If Danny had to make the draft pick in January, he's taking Kenny Pickett. Just like these GMs and front office guys are sitting in these draft rooms and they're having 6 to 8 weeks to think about this. And like, you know what? Malik Willis does have higher upside, so maybe we should go in that direction. I think all the points Danny made are fair ones. I'm not a huge Kenny Pickett guy, and I think the upside on Malik is such that you want to take that gamble. If you're going to gamble on a quarterback, you want to be an athletic quarterback to do the things that they do in today's NFL. Sometimes you get Mr. Trubisky, sometimes you get Josh Allen, and you hope you get closer to Josh Allen than Mr. Trubisky if you're the Panthers. But to your point, Brady, the offensive line is in such disarray that I don't know what would have to happen for Malik Willis to have a successful season next year as that team is currently constituted. So those are the issues, and they painted themselves in the corner, the Panthers did, by not getting any quarterback during the free agency/trading period. So they're stuck with the number 6 pick, and the quarterback is probably going to have to be the choice there, even though their offensive lineman available. Also, shout out to Matt Rule for his third grade outfit that he wore there for the coach's picture. I don't know if that instills confidence in any quarterback going there, but I love the fact that he was dressed up like he was first day of school. That was pretty awesome.
Well, and he was also standing like it, right? Like in the front, like he really didn't want to be there, but here I am. Okay. All right, let's go to the Falcons at 8, and we do find another quarterback off the board. No Matt Ryan. They have Marcus Mariota. Where are you on the Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis? Because he has Kenny Pickett going to the Falcons.
I still trust the tape. I still have Kenny Pickett, to me, as based on what he did last year in the tape that I've watched. He's the best quarterback in this draft class. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to work out the same for him. I still think Trevor Lawrence, for example, was the best quarterback draft class a couple of years ago. Now, he didn't have a great rookie season. Ryan Wilson would tell you Mac Jones was better. The reality is you put Trevor Lawrence and the New England Patriots offense we're probably having a different story about Trevor Lawrence. That's not how things worked out. So, this scenario for Kenny Pickett, I wouldn't say is as dire as what, Malik Willis would be dealing with the Carolina Panthers, but it's pretty darn close. I mean, I'm not going to say the coverage bare, but there's not a whole lot to work with there in Atlanta right now. They've had offensive line issues, so the weight of the world's going to be put on his shoulders, and I don't think he's going to have as much help as Malik Willis would with the Carolina Panthers. So outside of Arthur Smith being the head coach, an offensive-minded guy, and he may be working to a system that plays to the strengths of Kenny Pickett, that's about all this spot has going for him. It's a tough spot for Kenny Pickett to be in here.
Yeah, old Kenny Two Gloves. It's going to be a tough spot for him. And see, here's the problem. This quarterback class has taken a lot of criticism, and I think it's pretty wide. Like, we all agree they all need to be in the right system, surrounded with better talent. And now where they're starting to creep up, because it wasn't that long ago they were all kind of going in the late teens on some better franchises, much like Mac Jones, where he got selected to the Patriots. Now that they're starting to creep up in the top 10, I get even more concerned about him, because you're right, Brady. This roster isn't great. I mean, it was Kyle Pitts going to be his best weapon as a tight end, who's a good weapon, but what else are they going to put around him? The running back's position isn't great. That's my concern. I also think, too, clearly Kenny Pickett has the most polished tape. It was very clean this past season, even though it did kind of burst on the scene after an entire career at Pitt that was very pedestrian. He did have an incredible season, similar to Joe Burrow, played a lot less than had his breakout season. But I just feel like the ceiling is probably Andy Dalton-ish, which is good. Hey, Andy Dalton had a really, really nice career in Cincinnati. He made a lot of playoff runs, but there was always looking for more. And I wonder if that's what will be the kind of the MO or the reputation that Kenny Pickett gets after a while in the league is, man, we just need a little bit more out of our quarterback. I like him. He's going to make a nice living playing in the NFL. I just don't know if I see him being a Pro Bowl type player.
Ryan, weigh in here.
I'm laughing because John Breach is the only person that supports Andy Dalton, and now Danny had to bring him up. But I don't think you're wrong. I've actually talked about Daniel Jones as being a comp for Kenny Pickett, being thrown into a situation where the expectations are through the roof, and the next thing you know, everyone's down on Daniel Jones. It's not entirely Daniel Jones' fault. If Daniel Jones goes in the top of the second round, everyone's like, oh, okay, that's what we expected. And I think sometimes, as you note, Danny, we're putting too much expectations on these kids, especially if they go in the top 10.
All right, let's go to the team.
In the first round mock from Ryan Wilson. It's a doozy. It's the Lions going quarterback here at 32 with Matt Corral.
Oh, he can't leave his number one quarterback, now being taken in the first round. Come on now.
Yeah, Ryan, you got him number one, baby. Why so low?
Yeah, I love Matt Corral. NFL teams like him too, but just the way that the board fell, and I feel like Malik Willis, Danny texted me and said Malik better go at 6 or there are going to be issues there. So that's why that happened. And then Kenny Pickett is obviously very popular, so he had to go a couple picks later. Honestly, Chris, I would take these guys probably 15 or later for being, and we've had this conversation about how they're not all worthy of being top 15 picks. But Matt Corral, for me, does it in terms of being QB1, and I think it's a good fit in Detroit. And the ironic thing is, of the teams that just talked about, the Panthers and the Falcons, the Lions might be best set up to support a quarterback going forward. He won't have to play next year because of Jared Goff, and that offensive line is actually pretty good.
Yeah, I agree with you. This might be a good fit for him to be able to sit out a year and get into this system where maybe you run the ball a little bit more. And the thing we don't know about him is, what is he looking like in a system? He played in this RPO-heavy system at Ole Miss, throwing the ball around, spreading it down there, very collegiate feel to the system. But he still can make plays. I love his improvisational skills. I think he translates. I think this could be a player that we're talking about in a few years saying, man, were we too down on Matt Corral coming out of Ole Miss?
I just want to know if he's going to bite off some kneecaps. Isn't that what Dan Campbell's looking for?
Going to have to, yeah.
You're right. He's going to have to.
That's one of the questions they asked him at the combine. Is like, look, do you like the taste of kneecaps? And he must have said yes, because that's what Ryan has.
Well, yeah, that's what went into this pick, clearly. What I like about this pick is Ryan's, got what really a lot of teams are doing this position. When you have the 32nd pick, you're looking to have that fifth-year option, and in particular for some of what DK talked about. He doesn't have to go in and play right away. You can sit for a year or two behind Jared Goff, depending on how that plays out. Sit and learn it, and you're not worried about him, wasting time necessarily. It could be good for him. He could end up coming into the best situation, not having to play right away and transitioning into the NFL. So the kneecap thing is going to have to develop maybe an appetite for it.
Kneecaps, good. Matt Corral, 32 to the Lions. That's 3 quarterbacks in the first round. He also had Malik Willis, 6 to the Panthers. Kenny Pickett to the Falcons in that top 10 as well. Our thanks to Ryan Wilson. You can see the whole mock on CBSSports.com.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.